Saskatoon just a second variation of the North Pole, or is there more to this city than most people know? Here are 5 things that you need to know before thinking about making a move to Saskatoon in 2024. My name's Ryan Guenther, and I'm a local realtor here in Saskatoon. If you find any of this information in this video helpful and want to connect with me farther, all my contact information will be in the description box below, or you can drop me a comment and I'd be happy to connect with you there. If you're contemplating a move to Saskatoon, there's a few things you're going to want to know beforehand. Like, what's the weather like? What sort of economy and job opportunities are offered here in the city? What's housing like, whether it's renting or owning? Transit and getting around the city, what's accessibility like? And then just generally, what is day-to-day or seasonal activities? What can you really do in the city? So I know when a lot of people think Western Canada, they think cold winters. If you're in other parts of Canada, you're going to experience winter to some extent. And if you're moving here from outside of the country, you may just think Canada as a whole is cold. In Saskatoon, we're a continental climate, so we have 4 full seasons. While some seasons may be cut a little shorter than others, we do have 4 full seasons. So in spring, you're coming out of winter, you're kind of getting that March melt, or so I call it, into April, where you got a little bit of spring fever, the warm days, you're having your window rolled down a little bit because you're coming out of a deep freeze. Trees are starting to leaf out later into spring, plants are starting to blossom, and it all around just feels like kind of a kickstart into the year because you're going to transition into a beautiful summer with lots to do. Summer in Saskatoon's a really fun time. We do have a normal summer, so it's usually starting around, as early as late May if it's really warm, but June, July, August, and early September. A lot of t-shirt weather and some really hot days throughout. I know everyone likes to think that we're all just cold, but there's plenty of times where you'll get 30, 35, even 40 degrees sometimes with the humidity, which that would equate to 85 to 90 Fahrenheit and over 100 degrees with the humidity sometimes throughout the summers. There's lots of festivals to go through all summer long, and there is dozens upon dozens of lakes within anywhere from an hour to 4 hours from the city. It's just loaded with lakes. We've got plenty of people that come from out of province and some that even come from out of country if they're in North Dakota or Montana below us to our lakes. And then you have fall, which personally is my favorite season, and I know a lot of other people's favorite seasons. It's about a 6 to 8 week transitionary period. Given our winters usually do come earlier than, some of the eastern climates that still have winter, the fall is kind of any time September and October. It can be quite warm early September and it can be quite cold later in October. But nonetheless, it's sort of that perfect hoodie weather where sometimes you get to wear a hoodie in the morning and you got your t-shirt in the afternoon if it's in September. You're seeing all the leaves change color, fall from the trees, the pumpkin patches, Halloween comes, but all around fall in Saskatoon's a really nice time because we do have a lot of trees throughout the entire city. And then finally, we've got winter. I know a lot of people like to harp on it. It's honestly not that bad. Some years worse than others, albeit, but this past winter, the November and December were uncharacteristically warm, and we actually had a brown Christmas with no snow on the ground. We get a lot more warm spells in the last 5 to 10 years throughout our winters, where we're kind of going through that freeze-thaw period, than myself growing up as a kid, where you were kind of in the deep freeze for 3 to 4 months straight. But nonetheless, winter can come as early as late October, and can stay potentially as late as early April. But generally speaking, you're kind of that November to March deal of winter. Middle of it can get quite cold, but it opens the door to other activities that you wouldn't be able to do elsewhere, like cross-country skiing, snowboarding, skiing or snowmobiling, which is one of my personal favorites. So you kind of got to make the most of it and do things that you wouldn't be able to do elsewhere. Next up is our economy, and take it our diverse job market. So in agriculture, for 2022, the province sold $18.5 billion of international agriculture. And in the last 10 years, since 2023, our exports have increased 58%. So we grow what the world needs in Saskatoon and around. Next up, we have mining, where Saskatchewan produces over 1/3 of Canada's total energy source. So over 1/3 of the entire country's energy is being fed from Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan ranks first in Canada for investor attraction and third worldwide, which is pretty crazy to think that small town Saskatchewan out of the entire world is ranked third for investor mining attraction. And because we have raw materials, we have what the world needs, whether we're digging it out of the ground or we're growing it. A recent news article stated that Saskatchewan was going to be sort of a safe haven for economic uncertainty, sheltered by a bunch of the stuff going on in the world for 2023, 2024, and beyond. So it's great hearing that as a resident within the province, that some of the problems that other provinces and people are facing, our province won't necessarily feel the burden so much. The third point, and arguably the most exciting point, while I might be a little bit biased, is our house pricing. There's not very many major cities you can go to where you can get a 2-bedroom condo for $150,000. Or a detached house for your family for $400,000. You know, I get calls every single week from people that are moving to Saskatoon or are contemplating a move to Saskatoon primarily for our house prices. They don't care about anything else. You know, they'll reap the benefits when they're here, but they just, wherever they're at, they realize that home ownership is going to be either not attainable or in such a far distant future that they can't look that far. A lot of people that, you know, immigrate to Canada, they land in these large centers in BC or in Ontario somewhere, and then they quickly realize, well, where do they go that offers kind of the most opportunity with the cheapest prices? So that is a huge, huge benefit to Saskatoon versus more or less anywhere else in the entire country. The fourth point would be just how easy it is to get around in the city. You know, our city has over 300,000 people, so it's not necessarily a super small city, but at the same time, you can get essentially anywhere in rush hour traffic, 30 minutes, you know, without a whole lot of traffic, 20 to 25 minutes. It's pretty wild. We've got one main freeway called Circle Drive, and it pretty much branches off to every part of the city. You know, there's a lot of people that make hour-long commutes or longer in some of these bigger centers, and no one likes making a large commute, but they do it so that they can afford the house that they're living in normally. But they've got their house that they're buying is still more than what they would purchase here, and they've got the commute on top of it. So Saskatoon kind of offers that best of both worlds, that you can actually live within the same city that you work and function out of, get around just fine, and have a cheaper house than you would an hour plus out of these major centers in other provinces. It truly is incredible. And last up, we've got the recreational scene. I know I touched on a few of the activities back in the weather segment of what you could do during the summer and the winter, and I mentioned festivals in the summer. Well, we've got Folk Fest, Rock the River, Fringe Festival. You know, there's quite a few events throughout the summer months. You got a couple museums you can go check out. You've got the Mewasan trails down by the river that you can go biking and hiking on. And then in the winter, obviously, you've got all the outdoor events that you can do, because while we have 300,000+ people in the city, we've got a lot of flat land around the city. So there's riding trails just outside the city. If you want to do it like me and go bomb up and down the ditch, you can always do that too, but I maybe shouldn't be recommending that here in the video. Now, I might be a little biased because I was born here and I've never left. 30 years later and I'm still here. But that's because I haven't felt a need to leave yet. Because that ultimately, you get the best of both worlds on multiple fronts, I feel, in the city. There's over 300,000 people, so it's not a small town. You got all the convenience of having all the shopping and the food and whatnot within a couple minutes of your doorstep. But when you get chatting with people here in the city, you'll quickly start to see how interconnected and how tight it actually is. You wouldn't think that with 300,000 people, but it doesn't take long once you start making connections, how everyone somehow seems to kind of know each other. It's pretty crazy. On top of the tightness of the community, you can get anywhere you want within 20 to 25 minutes. There's plenty of job opportunity. There's lots to do no matter what season of the year. And the best part about all of it, whether you're renting up front, rent is still cheaper than parts of Edmonton or Calgary, or obviously places in Ontario or BC for sure. But ultimately, home ownership truly is attainable here in Saskatoon. Whether you're a family man or you're just buying something for yourself. It really doesn't matter. There's something for everyone because our prices in multiple different fronts, whether it be a condo, a townhouse, or detached houses, works for everyone no matter what stage in life you're at. Again, my name's Ryan Guenther, local realtor here in the city. If you found any of this information helpful, if you want a little bit more detailed view in any points I had made, or want to know anything else about the city, reach out to me. All my contact information will be in the description box below. And if you want to drop me a comment, I'd be happy to connect with you there. I look forward to chatting with you soon.